Welcome back to Wrenches in Motion, where if it ain't broke, I ain't buying it. And today we begin part 2 of the Honda Element. When I bought it, tons of oil leaks. So the best way to do it is to pull the engine out, reseal it, replace some of the broken items like the tensioner and the VTEC spool valve, put it back together, and set the engine back in. Okay, this hose here comes down, wraps around and goes in there. This plug goes into this harness here. This comes down, wraps right here. This coolant hose here goes straight down. This one goes to the throttle body. So you take them off, those are coolant hoses. And then maybe we can get the air box out. Alright, so the first thing we did is we pulled off the under tray and the little front bumper thing. I'm draining the radiator right now. Mainly because, there we go. I've got coolant hoses up here I need to take off. And then I got to take the radiator hoses and stuff off. And I don't want to lose the coolant because it's good coolant. So, that's where we're at right now. Alright, with the battery and the air box out, we get a little better view of what's going on in here. We got this hose on the throttle body's off. This one just goes down to this pipe right here. That's a nice little short one. We got electrical connection there. This pipe, or this hose here, goes to the bottom of this set of pipes here, which go back here somewhere. So we need to take that off because we need to get the throttle body out to get these cables out of here, I think. And my thought is to try to separate the motor from the trans and just pull the motor out. But looking at it, I really might do what I always do and just pull them both together and then set them back in together. Oh, that's nice. I'm tearing my burn off. Down here is a 10mm bolt that holds the wiring harness in right here. So we're trying to take that out so we can get this whole wiring harness here out of the way. Good luck. Oh, that hurts. Well, as luck would have it, the bolt came out, and this is the injector harness. So I take this whole thing out. Yeah, not a big deal. I just didn't know exactly what it was. So now that I know, I know. Okay, wiring harness again. Goes into this plastic stuff here. I'm going to take this bolt out right here. And that's on this bracket, and hopefully that'll all come loose. And then we got, it goes down to the transmission. And once we get the stuff out of the way, we'll take a look. But it goes like brown on top, and then gray beneath that. And I don't know what else we have to get underneath for that. Okay, back with more wiring stuff. We got this connector here, and it's tied into this little bracket thingy. We got a ground here, and we've got this connector with the green. Oh, yeah, this one right here. So take them off, take this little plastic holder out. Part of this harness goes up here. That's probably for the coils. That one goes back there somewhere. We'll find that. So we're getting somewhere. We're going to take this cover off, unplug our coils, and get all this stuff out of the way. All right, well, as you know, luck would have it, sure enough, it does come here to the coils. But it also goes down there to the VTEC solenoid and to some other stuff. So I think maybe there's only 3 more connectors back there I got to undo. And we can pull it off here and then do the transmission, and maybe, just maybe, after all that, we'll be able to get this wire harness out of the way. Once that's out of the way, exhaust. Power steering, of course. Gotta get that out of the way. Still haven't decided if I'm going to split the transmission yet. We'll see. I know I'm definitely not going to remember this. There's a green connector right here. You can see that. Green connector goes like under here into something. Whatever that thing is. And then we got the other connector that goes into that white block down there. And I think that's ready to come off. We're getting closer. Oh, yet more connections on the transmission down here. Let's make it a light in here. Got a black, a gray, and a blue. Alright, and I think that's maybe it. We'll see. So what we're going to try to do now is take this hose off. This little hose off goes to the throttle body. These two bolts get this off. Probably pop the fuel injectors out so I can move this harness out of the way and I can get this whole wiring harness out of here. And then we should be in fairly decent shape. We took the intake off so that we could get to the alternator stuff. And then we've got the knock sensor down there, the starter connections. And then I think that is it electrically. We've got the harness moved over, the fuel stuff. Still got to take the injectors out, move the fuel stuff out of the way. Heater hoses in the back, radiator hoses in the front, the ground on the transmission. The transmission lines going to the radiator for the cooler. And then we'll go ahead and work on the accessory drive. We'll pull the serpentine belt off. I'll probably replace that. I'll move the power steering pump, take off the AC compressor because I don't want to crack open the lines for the AC because the AC does work. And then there's, I don't know if you can see in here, but man, you can see how bad it was leaking. That was just a valve cover. We still got the spool valve in the back and timing cover in the front and all kinds of stuff we're going to fix. So when we get done, we shouldn't have any leaks. So as my luck would have it, I rounded off the bolt for the tensioner. So we got our knife and we're just going to cut this belt off and carry on. Well, it has been a couple days because I have no motivation with this car for some reason. I hate Elements. I had one before. I hated it. I bought this one. I hate it. So, I mean, I got to get it done, but I've just been... It was 2 days I didn't even touch this thing. I didn't even come out and look at it. So here's what we got so far. We did get the belt off by cutting it. The tensioner we're going to take out after we get the motor out. I'll get a new tensioner for it. No big deal. We've got the wire harness out of the way. And we got the wire harness here out of the way. The injectors are over there. So everything's coming along. We're going to go ahead and disconnect the radiator hoses. I'm going to drain the oil and get it up on jack stands. Oh man, you can see how bad this thing was leaking oil everywhere. And on the back side, I just felt it, so I'm going to run the camera back there. I haven't seen it yet, so you guys give a look and tell me what you think. I think it's leaking pretty good back here too. Even way down there. So I made the decision. I am going to split the motor and trans and just pull the motor out. So what I've got to do now is obviously the radiator hoses, but then I'm going to put it up on jack stands, take the starter out, take the AC compressor out and hang that, climb in the back and see if I can get the exhaust off. I really want to take it off of the head, which means that the heat shield, those bolts are all going to either round off or break, and I'll end up cutting that off. And then I think this thing's going to be almost ready to pull. Oh, I got to disconnect the torque converter too, obviously. You probably can't see it, but I'm taking the, I'm just going to take the thermostat off for the low radiator hose. And what you really can't see is on my hand, I really burnt it on the pilot exhaust. So as I'm loosening this bolt down here, I keep smashing my my freshly burnt hand right on that corner, and boy does that hurt. Well, not really what was expected, but there is 3 bolts to hold that shield on, and the third one is down below that little cross member thing. You can't reach it, of course. So I was able to do the 2 bolts on the exhaust flange and knock that out of there. So I don't have to take the exhaust manifold off. I'm gonna leave that on. The other thing I discovered is that the AC compressor, I think I can reach 2 of the 3 bolts. Maybe the third one if I'm lucky. So we gotta worry about that. I think I'm gonna take the overflow tank out because the alternator will surely hit it on the way out and probably crush it. I don't want to take the alternator out if I can help it. I'll take it out later. I think what's going to happen is the motor's going to come out and it's going to have to rotate this way a little bit, which will definitely give me a little bit more room with the alternator. And I think it's going to lift right out. We shall see. I'm not going to be able to get under there to undo the torque converter and stuff because when I took the thermostat out, some more antifreeze came out and I'm not laying in that. So I'll get the hose out here pretty soon and wipe all that away. And then I'll have to wait till I get back from California. Oh, everything else going on. If you take a look in here, you can see where one of the torque converter bolts was. And this is the torque converter bolt. Just this little bitty 10 millimeter. There's probably at least 6 of them in there. So here's what I got going on. I've got the 1/2-inch ratchet wedged in there holding the crank so that I can loosen up the torque converter bolt. So now I'm going to spin it to the next one, relock the ratchet in there, and carry on. Hopefully we'll get however many of them. Hopefully we'll get all of them out. And we got all 8 torque converter bolts out. I didn't even have to wedge the ratchet in there. Once I used the Milwaukee on it, it just buzzed them right out. Didn't have to worry about it spinning. So now that we got all those out, the only thing left really now is the AC compressor. Well, I can see a bolt from... I might be able to get that thing out right now. And then it's transmission bolts, and I think we're ready to pull. Rolling right along. AC compressor is loose. I had to drop the K-member in order to get the bolts out, but it's out. This is what I'm going to hook up to. Not this bolt, but this hole. It's a M8x1. And then on the other side, I think I'm just going to run a nut on here and put the chain in the middle and use that for the other point. So there's 3 bolts here for this motor mount. The front mount is only to the transmission, so I don't have to worry about that. And the back, there's usually a mount in the back. I can't really tell right now. Of course, the light's not here. There's probably a mount in the back, but I'm not going to do any of those until I actually get it hooked up. So, and the engine is out. Just wanted to say that this is probably 8 or 9 days later. I had to go to California for work, and it was probably about 8 o'clock at night when I got this out. So sorry I didn't videotape it, but I really wanted to get this thing out before I left, and I did. And you can see how dirty this thing is. Valve cover definitely leaking. Maybe oil pan gasket, not sure. That was one of the things that was mentioned, so we'll probably do it. The VTEC solenoid, that is definitely bad, so I'm going to change that. I've got the timing gaskets, So we'll pull the pulley off, pull the front timing cover off. We'll look at the chains. I'm sure it's, or the chain. I'm sure it's going to be good. And then we'll do the seal on the timing kit. And then over on this side, we've got to get a new belt tensioner. And what else? I took a nice little gouge, but that's no big deal. Yeah, all the rest is just cleaning it up. I think this side's all dirty from the valve cover as well. So next thing we're going to do is get the degreaser and spray this thing up and power wash it and get it all nice and clean. And then tear it down. Oh, let's see. What else is going on? So we got the truck over there that we have to load today because I'm going to New York very early in the morning, probably midnight, maybe 1 o'clock, but probably closer to midnight, to get an engine for the White Pilot. It's already bought and paid for. I just got to go pick it up. But I may just be junking this one because I've got my eye on another one that's in a whole lot better shape. So we'll see what happens with this. It's either going to get an engine or it's going to get scrapped. We got this Ford Escape here. And let me tell you how my day went yesterday. Woke up at 3 o'clock in San Francisco to fly home. Got to Atlanta just fine. Tried to land at Norfolk and couldn't because too much fog, so we had to fly to Richmond. Once we got to Richmond, they said we're not going to fly back to Norfolk. We're going to fly back to Atlanta. And then you might get on a plane back today to come back up to Norfolk. So I got with my boss, decided to rent a car. My bags are supposed to be in Norfolk in about an hour. So I'm getting ready to take the rental car back, pick up the other car, pick up my bags, and then come back home. So we're in the garage. You can see all the Element stuff laying here. That's all, everything we got to put back on. I bit the bullet, and last time I was in there, I turned the lights on and I've got bad bulbs again. So I got the blue LEDs, which should look neat in the cluster. And then I've got this rubber wheel to take the adhesive off that was on the, for the rain guards. So hopefully that'll work and get all that stuff off. And then what we're going to use to degrease it is something different this time. We're going to try this Dawn degreaser. We know it works on ducks. We got FedEx here. I ordered stuff for multiple vehicles. So what we have here is serpentine belt. That's for the Element. And this should be the tensioner. Yep, that's the belt tensioner. Also for the Element. And the oil pan gasket, if it'll come out. Thank you, Molly. Whew. You bent the wrapping, but not the actual item. So that's pretty good. I like that. So as luck would have it, I'm not going to be able to put it on the stand, of course. So I'm probably just going to hang it when I do the oil pan, which I really don't want to do, and the timing cover. So the only thing I'm going to do right now, I'm going to take the motor mount off. I'm going to take the belt tensioner off and change that. Mount the power steering pump back on there. And then that's going to be it for today because I've got to travel tomorrow. So, alright, we got our pretty new tensioner on there. Nice and quiet. Power steering pump's back on. I'm going to leave the motor mount off for now. And what I wanted to show you guys is when I tried to do the spool valve in the car, I kind of rounded this one a little bit. So what I'm hoping is with enough pressure, I can get it to crack loose. So, oh, thing's way over there. So let me just try to do this. Oh, it's just going to spin. Boy, I was hoping I could do that. Alright, let me find some other way to try to get that off. So we got the old spool valve off. I was expecting the screen to be clogged, and it's not. The gasket's pretty flat, so that's probably cause of the oil leak. And it is probably electrically bad, because this thing was definitely bad, throwing a check engine light and putting us into limp mode. So I'm glad we replaced it. I still got to get another bolt. Oh, looking forward to going to the junkyard and trying to find one of those. So I made a quick trip to the junkyard. Got our spool valve bolt. So we'll throw that in there. We'll tighten that up. And then the next thing I think we're going to do is... I really wanted to get this on the stand. And I couldn't because this coolant hose was in the way right here. So I'm actually thinking of taking the thermostat housing off and taking that hose off and unbolting this hose. And then I can put it on the stand, because I think that's going to be the best way to get the oil pan off. I was thinking about just hanging it in the air, but I don't think that's going to be a good idea. Also, while I'm here, I'm going to take the actual VTEC solenoid out and look at that, maybe spray it out with some brake cleaner. But let's get that out, let's get this spool valve tightened, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do. The bolts I had to mount the engine to the stand, I took back to Lowe's. So now the question is, do I go back and buy them again? Or do I keep looking around? Because I know I've got some here somewhere, I just don't know where. Well, I'm ready to take it off, but I think I've got a decision to make. I'm looking at it, it's not leaking anywhere on the sides. It's just leaking a little bit in here. So I think I'm just going to try to get the O-ring and, you know, this gasket here, which I have. And I might even take this out and do this gasket a little bit. But, yeah, I don't see a reason to take this whole timing cover off. They said reseal the timing cover, but, I mean, it's not leaking anywhere on the side, so I'm just going to replace those and call that a day. So I'm looking at the engine and stuff, and I'm looking at this gasket right here, and I'm thinking, where does that go? And it goes up here into this, and I'm pretty sure that was leaking, so I think that's going to be the next one I do. And of course, I just put all this stuff on, so now I got to take it all back off again. Oh yeah, such is life. Well, that actually took about 15 seconds to pull all that off. If you can look, you'll see that gasket is totally flat. No wonder it's leaking. The screen's got a little bit of particles in it, so what we're just gonna clean this up real quick, throw a new gasket in there, and pop it back in. Now we got the pan off, and the screen looks good, so I'm not worried about that. I got the pan over here soaking. The stuff that's in the bottom is just the gasket material. I used a wire brush and got all that off. So it's in a parts cleaner. We're gonna rinse it out, wipe down the sides, make sure it's all nice and clean. And then we got to clean off the bottom of the block, put our gasket sealer on there, and put it back together. I'm hoping that I still have some Honda Bond. Not sure. I don't know if I used it all last time I tried to work on something or not, but if I have some, great. If not, I guess it's gonna have to be the Ultra Black. The oil pan's back on. We did it the sketch way. We got it hanging. I'm just gonna let the Honda Bond sit up for about a half hour, and then I'll come out here and torque all the bolts down. And then put this little bracket back on, right next to the can there. Put that bracket back on. And then go ahead and pick it up and lower it in. Well, I got the oil pan torqued, and I can't stop there. I gotta at least try to like set it in the engine bay for tonight. So we're jacking it up, and throw it in there, and hopefully tomorrow we can get this thing mated to the trans, get all the mounts on, and start running some wires. Late last night, about 8:30, we got the engine just sitting in here. I'm going to pull the cherry picker out, put a jack underneath the engine so that I can move it around and attach it to the transmission. I really hate doing it this way. I'd rather pull them both at the same time and then, you know, drop them in as a whole unit. But this time I figured it's only a 4-cylinder, shouldn't be too hard to move around. So I did it this way. As you can see, we got one bolt started in the front. I think it's going to need a little bit more persuasion. We got one going in the back, and that's actually going in quite easy. So I'm pretty sure we got the back on the dowel pin, and I'm not going to tighten it up all the way, of course. Never do that. So we're just going to tighten it in enough so it won't come off the dowel pin, but it still has a chance to rotate around a little bit. And that'll be good enough there. So let us keep working on the front, and hopefully we'll be able to get this thing mated together here shortly. Okay, we're underneath and bolting up the AC compressor. We got 3 of the bolts in, and this one here, you have to lower the subframe so you can get the bolt in. So I already had it loosened up. I never tightened it from last time, so I'm just going to take a pry bar, push the K-member down, get that bolt started, and then finish tightening it up. Alright, it's a short time later. We got the starter in, we got the starter wiring in, the alternator wiring in. That little pain in the butt connector back there is in. It's all on the, like, you know, the wiring's clipped in there like it's supposed to be. It's on this like it's supposed to be. So these go to the throttle body and stuff. Not worried about those right now. This ground wire for the negative battery cable, got to put that in yet. That's something easy. We'll just leave that. What I'm working on now is the valve cover. I've got it laying here, and first thing we're going to do is we're going to knock out the spark plug tube seals and replace those, and then flip it over. These are all getting replaced. We've got new ones in the kit, those little silver things right here, so we got those. And then I don't know why we've got 8 of those. It's only 4 spark plugs. Maybe 8. Whatever. Alright. Anyway, that's where we're at right now. Song playing now. Why do I stop it every time there's a Tool song on? We are playing Enema. Yeah, let's see here. Intake on. Most of the wiring harness is back in. I've got to do the exhaust manifold. That'll be fun. And I just wanted to show you that since I'm leaving next week, or yeah, I'm leaving Friday for Korea for a week, I did manage to mow the field out in front just to make it look a little less abandoned. So here we are again. It's another day. It was another late night last night. About 8:30 I got in the house. We got most of the stuff on in the front. In the back, you can see the exhaust manifold in. I still have to hook it up to the cat pipe. The axle I put in, only to have to take out again to put the exhaust in. So we're going to be taking care of that here shortly. The heat shield, I had the top 2 bolts out. I had to cut the bottom one off, so I got 3 bolts to bolt that back on. I had to take that off to get the exhaust in. And also this little bracket thing that goes on the engine and the header to like brace it against the engine. I had to cut that off, and I am not putting that back on. Alright, we got the exhaust done. Heat shield's on. Pipes hooked up. We're about to drop the axle in. And just so you guys can see, Song playing right now is Hate My Life by Theory of a Dead Man. So, let's get back to putting this axle in. Well, after a struggle, we got the serpentine belt on. I found this stuff inside the car, so we're going to have to put that on. And they said it needed brakes, which it did. So I've got this side done. I'm about to tackle the other side now. We got to find a way to put that fender liner back in. That's one of the things we got to do. All right, for our next boring job, we're going to put the front plastics on. The little cute little bumper guard, and then the underneath plastics. We're going to put those on. We got those all cleaned up. I've got rid of all the grease and stuff that was on there. So if this thing doesn't leak oil, it's going to be pretty clean underneath. And let's see what else. Still got stuff to do under the hood, but I'll tell you, I want to get these plastics on, put the wheel on, get it off the jack stands so that I can actually reach everything I need to reach on the top. It's coming along. And song right now, we're listening to Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. I bought a new air filter just because I never really looked at this one. So we're all going to take a look at the same time. Yeah, we'll replace that. Yeah, I'm going to clean that out real quick and then pop the new air filter in. Well, it is finally done. I just want to see if it's going to start and run. I'm not going to run it that long because I don't have antifreeze. And the battery's dead, of course. So, while we do that, the song you're missing now is Rise Above This by Seether. So, that's been going. Yeah, let's do this. Let's see what we get. The battery's dated 2018, so it is 5 years old. And I hope you enjoyed today's video of the Honda Element. Sorry about the teaser at the end, but the video was running kind of long, so I just wanted to get it finished and get it out there. Part 3 will actually twist the key and start this thing for the first time. Keep the wheels down, and always remember to keep your wrenches in motion.